How you feel about that nigga Russell Wilson?
He do exactly what she tell him to do. It ain't no feelings
Do
for
you
him.
feel like the nigga go too far though? With your son?
He not being a man in that position. Man, you not telling her, man, bro, chill out with that on the internet. Don't even talk to him. I'm your husband. You better not even bring Future name up. If that was me, she couldn't even bring his name up. She know that. Don't get that shit. No energy. For like I'm taking care of my situation.
From the streets though. You from
different kind of rules. Yeah. So he think, oh, you should go to court. Man, you better not show up for court. Sue him. You sue him for what? By him, nigga, I got money, nigga. I take care of him before you sue him. And nigga, I take care of kids that ain't mine now. You think I ain't take, I'm having money. I'm taking care of my kids. It ain't even that. It's just a thing I want to nitpick at you and do certain things. You know I'm taking care of my kids. You'd already been around my kids when y'all started going together. And when y'all first posted the first picture, you haven't even talked to me. And then when y'all get married, she was like, I want you to meet Russell now. Man, y'all already done did all the damage. I don't want to meet him now. I ain't trying to be around your kids. I don't know your baby daddy. My love is for you, and I love through me loving you, I love your kids. But at the end of the day, I have no say so.
What's up, YouTube? This is your girl, Megan. Welcome back to my channel if you're already a subscriber. And if this is your first time joining me on today.
Hello, motherfucker.
So as I'm sure you guys see, Mr. Future Hendrix is back out and on his bullshit, okay? So during a recent press run for his album, his upcoming album, don't know the name, I just know it has a bunch of songs that sound like some shit we done already heard. I'ma listen though, because it sounds good, but I'm just saying I heard it all before. Heard it all before. But anywho, he did a press run, and during these little press runs and these tours and interviews at the radio stations, he ended up bringing back up his baby mama, Sierra. I mean, one of many, because I think he has about 6 of them, a plethora of baby mothers. He keeps bringing up Sierra, and he's talking about how he was just so upset because, you know, Russell, which is Sierra's husband now, seems to do whatever Sierra wants him to do. And a few years ago, this was in the headlines because everybody was upset about the fact that Sierra was introducing Russell to baby Future and just a bunch of bullshit. So here we are in 2019. Sierra and Russell are happily married and have another child of their own. And Future has nothing else better to do than to obsess over a woman who he is no longer with. And I have mixed feelings about Future in general. Number one, I do like his music, and I actually been listening to Future since like those Pluto days, okay? You're an astronaut chick, and it's the only thing that matters to me. You amaze me. Hey, y'all don't know about that. Y'all don't know nothing about that. So I've liked Future since Pluto, back in the day. But over the years, I've noticed that he's grown increasingly problematic, like annoying as fuck. He tends to wear his manipulation of women on his sleeve, just being very emotionally abusive, mentally abusive towards women. And which is a reason why I think, and a lot of people suspect, that he has such a wild hair up his ass when it comes to Sierra, because of all his baby mothers, she seems to be the only one, number one, who has her own financially, who was her own person in the spotlight before she met him, and then one of the only ones who just actually vocally moved on and is living their best life and actually made a vertical move. So she went from being with a rapper to a football player who has a hell of a lot more money and seems to be a very upstanding individual for both her and her son. So, and I think that really kind of gets to him. And when I found out that he was a Scorpio sun, I was like, makes a lot of sense. And Sierra's actually a Scorpio herself, and I'll do a reading on her at a later time and date. But just naturally, that shit just was not going to work. It just wasn't, okay? And I wanted to take a look at Future's chart because he can be funny. He comes up with a lot of these little cool little isms like, oh, sensational. And, I'm good, love, enjoy. And he does little, stuff like that it's funny. But at the same time, he's just such a pompous asshole. So I definitely have this cognitive dissonance, so to speak, when it comes to future. And I wanted to pull up his chart to kind of look at what the fuck is going on here, okay? So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. So Future was born Navadius Cash, what the fuck, on November 20th, 1983 in Atlanta, Georgia. And so he's a Scorpio sun. His sun is at the 27th degree of Scorpio. And interestingly enough, he's a Gemini moon. And his moon is at the 0 degree. Now, first of all, Gemini moons in general tend to be very, they do get a reputation of being players because that Gemini energy gets bored very quickly. And as a result, they have to be constantly stimulated. So these people can be serial daters. They can be people who, are constantly hopping from one person to the next. And that 0 degree and immutable sign can produce somebody who has a hard time deciding where they want to go with shit. People who kind of start something but don't finish it. So it really emboldens that Gemini kind of, ADHD kind of behavior, very short attention spans. I'm on the one chick one day, on to the next one the next day, on to the next one. Okay, I like this chick. She might be my forever. Oh, well, look at the next one. Look at another one. Look at there. I found somebody else. So that could definitely describe a lot of Future's behavior here. Not to mention the fact that 27th degree for his sun breaks down to the number 9. And on the shadow side, 9s can be arrogant. They can be self-pitying, but they can also be very, very fickle, hot and cold. One minute they're over here, the next minute they're over there. And in some extreme cases, it could produce somebody who's just downright mentally unstable. And this arrogance is reinforced given that his Mercury is at the 9th degree of Sagittarius. So here goes that number 9 again, okay? That arrogance. But then Sagittarius, Mercury is in his detriment in Sagittarius. And it's often a placement for people who, they could be preachers, public speakers. So on the positive side, this could help describe some of his talents as far as, him being a great writer and a good rapper and things of that nature. It can kind of enhance those creative abilities and make him witty and all that good shit. But this could definitely produce somebody who feels like high-minded, you know what I'm saying? Like overconfident in the way that they think. They think that they're super duper intelligent. Like, oh, look at me, self-righteous. That's what I'm looking for. That Sagittarius encompasses this kind of self-righteous kind of energy. And then when you take into consideration that his Mercury is conjoined to his Jupiter, this could absolutely produce a narcissist, somebody who thinks very highly of themselves and their own opinions. And then somebody who can get away with saying some of the most ridiculous shit, which this man does on the regular. He made a tweet. I think it was a tweet or it was on Instagram or something. He was basically with one of his many, many baby mothers, and I guess he had got caught cheating, or it was some type of scandal that took place to where everybody was questioning the baby mom. Like, are you going to let him do this to you? What's wrong with you? Why are you letting him treat you this way? This man hops his ass on social media and says, you can either cry in a Bentley or a Honda or something to that effect. You can cry in a Rolls Royce or a Camry. Basically, bitch, I am who the fuck I am. Niggas are gonna be niggas, and you can either stick with the money team and cry in this luxury ass car and enjoy this life that I'm gonna provide for you, or you can take your ass somewhere else and get cheated on in a fucking hoopty. And that's what I mean when I say not only does he say like ridiculous shit, he also has this kind of like it's abuse. It's like mental, emotional abuse. And like, yeah, it's funny. He comes up with these clever sayings, but I'm like, are we really like digesting what we're looking at here? This nigga is a manipulative mastermind. This nigga is a fucking psycho, dog. And given the fact that his moon is conjoined to his Chiron and his North Node is very telling. So naturally, he's just going to be this, the manipulative type of person. And because, Gemini is ruled by Mercury. And on the negative side, it can produce somebody who is they like to play games with people. You know what I'm saying? They use that mental capacity, all that Mercury energy for negative and just to get under other people's skin, especially when they get bored. Gemini is known for stirring up drama. And that's exactly what he was doing by going on that radio show talking about Russell Wilson, like 2 or 3 something years later. Like it's stupid. And had the shoe been on the other foot and Sierra done that same thing, people would have been calling her all kinds of bitter betties and shut up, you just a mad baby mother, you just mad, you just sad, shut up. So what's the standard here? Who's gonna really hold him accountable? And his sun is in opposition to his moon, which it points to a couple of things. So it points towards somebody who has parents that either weren't together or there's some major kind of disconnection between the mother and father. And in turn, obviously, it can play out in your life by way of you repeating that same pattern. But then it can also produce somebody who just naturally has issues with the opposite sex. And with his moon being conjoined to his Chiron, I'm willing to bet that he has all of the mommy issues that you can think of. He has some type of issues with women, which is interesting because I see that in the charts of a lot of these rappers who present themselves to be like playboys. And I just did a reading on NBA Youngboy. His moon is actually making a square to his Chiron, but with that conjunction aspect, it's strongly felt, but it can go either way. So it could manifest as a positive thing or a negative thing. And in this case, I would absolutely just say that it produces negative effects in the way that Future deals with women. I don't know what his relationship is like with his mom, but there's that. And this could also be reinforced given that his moon is making a square to his Uranus. And a lot of times this produces somebody who has a very emotionally distant kind of mother, somebody who kind of takes a more detached approach towards women. This could also be somebody who intentionally avoids going too deep into their emotions. And this kind of is where we get this Mr. Cool Guy persona from, because he does a good job of it. And this aspect just points towards this being who he really is. Like, he's this paradox of petty but then being unbothered about the shit, or just real cool about the shit at the same time. And that is attributed to this aspect. It also points towards somebody who is very futuristic, no pun intended, like very progressive and forward thinking. And I remember back earlier on when he first came out, he did a lot of references. He had a lot of outer space references like Pluto, astronaut, this and that, takeoff. And and I wouldn't even be surprised if he was into astrology, and this could be attributed to this aspect as well. It's very much like an eccentric, quirky, kooky kind of sense of style that this aspect gives. Moon in opposition to Uranus can also produce a mother who suffered some sort of mental illness, or who is just overall very much emotionally unavailable or detached from the child. So once again, reinforcing there being some kind of hidden mommy issues going on, which would obviously explain the way one goes about their relationships. His Mars is in square to his Neptune, and this just points towards Future really being full of shit, because underneath all of this sensational, kind of cool man, I'm unbothered bravado, there lies a sense of insecurity. Mars square Neptune brings about people who emotionally feel, insecure on the inside, but they try to overcompensate and make up for it, and a lot of times people who see through that shit, is like, it's apparent, it's obvious. And it does not help that both his Venus and his Mars are in the sign of Libra. And this just reinforces that concept of being like a serial dater, somebody who cannot really be alone. You know what I'm saying? Alone. It's enough that you got all this shit going on within yourself. But then instead of being honest about it and working out your own issues, you just insist on projecting and getting these other women involved so that you can take the shit out on them. And I find it interesting that his Mars is in the first degree, which that number one produces somebody who is super selfish. And then with it, his Neptune being in the 27th degree of Sagittarius, I mean, this could be him downright just, I hate to use that word victimizing again, but I mean him victimizing women, in order to kind of feel better about himself and the shit that he got going on the inside. His Pluto being in quincunx to his moon points towards him being super controlling, reinforces that Scorpio sun. This man just naturally has a flair for keeping women right where the fuck he wants them. And then finally, his sun is in quincunx to his asteroid Juno. His Juno is in the 25th degree of Aries. And a lot of times people who have Juno in Aries tend to be very like superficial about their relationships, in the sense that they're attracted. Because Aries is a very, very sexual energy. So this could point towards future being attracted to those video vixen types, the type of women that he likes the hunt, he likes the chase, but he doesn't really have the wherewithal to sit down and like build a happy family with your ass. You know what I'm saying? It reinforces this theme in his chart of him being easily sidetracked or distracted easily. And that Aries energy likes the chase, but as soon as you give in, they're on to the next. It's not a very enduring kind of energy. So, and I think he did an interview. I remember him talking about how he was like, I sacrifice real love for my career. And with this aspect, this just points towards the fact that Future is standing in his own way when it comes to love. Okay. The only sacrifice you're making it's a willful one. You're willingly doing it. So yeah, I'm not about to spend a whole lot of time on this nigga. I just wanted to point out some of the aspects that jumped out at me as it pertains to his chart. So you guys do me a favor, drop down in the comment section below. Let me know what you thought of this reading. And also feel free to throw out any suggestions you may have for celebrity natal chart readings. And always, I know you did already. Hit that like button now. Subscribe. Share this video with family and friends. And make sure you practice unconditional self-love so that you can love others. And as always,
Sensational. And that's the word you're looking for.
Exactly.
Yeah, sensational.